right, how are we doing, Lisa? Are you ready to go?
I am ready to go. All right, hi everyone. Welcome to our Google Hangout on end of the year procedures with a little bit of information on the SSYRA and FTR voting and the Jim Harbin contest. If you don't already have your microphone muted, please mute it now. And if you have a question, go ahead and type it in the chat box, and we will be monitoring the chat box throughout the whole Google Hangout. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Holly.
And I'm going to grab the right window. And we're going to start here. I hope you see my face-planted friend here. And I'm sure some of you can relate to this feeling. So we want to talk real quick about things to think about to get ready for the end of the school year. So we'll jump right in. I can get my screen to react. The number one task to complete by the end of the year, of course, is the inventory. And we're not going to go into how to do an inventory today. We will have a upcoming Topical Tuesday devoted to all those steps in case people want to log in and learn how to do inventory again, or if you're brand new and you want to talk about it before you try it. We'll probably do that on our next date, which Lisa will give you at the end of the session. But just a couple mentions about your inventory. Per district policy in chapter 8.12 somewhere, it mentions that you may do an inventory in a 3-year cycle. And what that means is that you do inventory every year, but you only have to do approximately what would be a third of your collection. For this to be useful at all, you need to choose a meaningful section of your collection. It needs to be a different section every year in a cycle of 3 years, like proposed on the screen there: fiction, nonfiction, and easy, if you have an easy book section, or fiction, nonfiction, biography. I have some people report to me that they inventory the same tiny section of their library every year because it says you only have to do a third, so they do biography every year, or they do professional, or they only do their videos every year over and over because it's the smallest one and the quickest to complete. And so that really doesn't serve the purpose. It doesn't clean up your catalog, and it doesn't help your students. So we encourage you to do a large, meaningful section of your collection, something that will help you find lost materials, get unnecessary obligations off of students' screens, and help you actually know what you really do have in your collection and not just a guesstimate. So there's my argument listed for the problems that inventory can clear up. When you go through the act of scanning things in an inventory, it will tell you if the item is checked out to a student. If it was previously set to lost, it will move it back to available. If a child paid for it, it will generate a refund and tell you that a refund has been generated for Joey Smith because he paid for this book. So it clears up a lot of issues. It will also pull things off your lost list that ended up there in your previous inventory. So if it was set to lost last year and you haven't deleted your lost, and it locates an item, it'll say this item was previously set to lost, it is now available. So the real purpose of the inventory is to reconcile the online catalog to the physical items in your room. And to do that, you have to finalize it. You have to look at the missing, and then you have to do the frozen thing and let them go to lost. Let them go. And then keep them for no more than a year on the lost list, and then delete them because they're included in your count, in your age of collection. So until you let the lost actually go and delete them, some of your numbers are not exactly correct in Destiny. Well, I have seen lots of collections that have a loss list that's been building since 2009, since the implementation of Destiny. It starts to become meaningless and unwieldy and hard to find the things that you just set to loss when your list is that long. So try to think about clearing it up each year, and we'll go over how you can delete only parts of your loss list to start cleaning that up. Let me check. I saw something pop up on my screen. Alonzo asked a question. If we're working through an inventory and kids still have books out when they return the books, will those get played? Yes, they're inventoried while they're out, and when you check them in, they're inventoried. So you don't have to worry about books going in and out. What will show up as lost is books that get carried off into the night without being checked out. So everything that's that just walks away, you know how those books grow legs, happens all the time. Those will end up being lost or set to lost because they weren't checked out. But if it's checked out, it's no problem. Okay, so tips to make sure your inventory is accurate and it works. The name of the inventory is only meaningful to you. So make it make sense to you so you can remember which inventory you're working on and what you were accomplishing with that inventory. But Destiny doesn't know that you named the inventory fiction, and therefore it's only looking at fiction books. It could care less. You could call it Mickey Mouse. It doesn't know. It's just a name. It's for you. What it does look at is call number and circulation type. So you have to get the call numbers right. You can do your nonfiction in sections if you only want to do a few hundred books, so you want to do 000 to 299. You can break up your nonfiction, or you can do all of your nonfiction 000 to 999. That's all you have to put in. To do all of your fiction, all you have to do is F to F. Easy the same way. Warning, if you leave that field blank to blank, Destiny thinks you want to inventory your entire collection, every single thing that's cataloged into Destiny. And that's what it'll be looking for. So you don't want to leave it blank unless that's what you want to do. A new feature this year, sublocations can be used to refine an inventory, but you only want to attempt this if you personally know that your sublocations have been implemented and consistently used, that they're perfect and wonderful and beautiful and they actually mean something. Because libraries change hands, we found that a previous librarian started a sublocation, the next librarian comes in, they don't know about that sublocation, they're not editing new books as they come into that location, and so then it's a mishmash when you set up an inventory by sublocation. So if you haven't been, if the sublocations are not all of your invention and you haven't consistently kept them up, meaning you have to edit the items to those sublocations. Vendors don't send them sublocated, and we don't. But if you know that they're perfect, you can use sublocation, and we can talk about that next time. Otherwise, leave them all checked, all of them, and then you won't have a problem. Always review your loss list and unaccounted list before you finalize. You may see patterns or items that you'll go, wait, I know where that's sitting, I just saw that. Or, oh, I can see I skipped a whole range, so I must have missed a shelf. It's mysteries only you can solve. So look at the lost and missing list, unaccounted for list before you finalize, just to see if you see anything that speaks to you. And then you should, when you finalize your inventory, let the unaccounted items be set to lost. They will not disappear until you do a second step, which is deleting your loss from the loss list. So Victoria asked if she never finalized her inventory from last year, what should she do? You have to get rid of it some way, because now it's kind of like been open so long, I'm not sure it means anything. So listen very carefully. You press the finalize button. It gives you two important choices. The default choice that will be marked is move the unaccounted for items to lost. The other choice is some wording that says, do not set the unaccounted for to lost. Basically leave them alone. You have to pick that choice and then say yes or whatever the next thing is and go ahead and finalize the inventory. It'll just say this many items were unaccounted for, but it won't do anything to them. But read the screen. If you finalize an inventory that either you think the settings are screwed up, it's not working, or it's just been in there forever, or you inherited an open inventory from the previous person that I've closed some that were 5 years old. Just read the screen, finalize, and pick the setting that will not mark the unaccounted for lost. And then you can just move on and make an inventory that means something. And then that one you should finalize and set your unaccounted for items to lost once you've looked through the list. We do have a form, 1936. It has some suggestions for the end of the school year to help you close out the library. Here's a couple highlights from that form, something to think about to prepare for the end of the year. Work really hard to get materials back by running overdue notices frequently during the last weeks of school. And that means probably every day. And I have lots of opinions, which I'm sure some of you have heard about notices. I think they should be on a full sheet of paper because I lose sticky note sized pieces of paper, but I'm more likely to keep track of a large piece of paper. And running them frequently gets kids to bring them back, especially if you're not in the habit of running them during the year. And I have a whole nother thought on that, but I promise you, if you run them frequently all year long, you're lost. At the end of the year, your unreturned items will be a lot fewer. I know because I've done it in a large school. Once school has closed, post-school day, any items not returned to your school by students who are not in your school in August, in other words, 5th graders from elementary school, 8th graders from middle school, and 12th graders, or if you're a K6 or you're K8, figure it out. Your last grade, the kids that are leaving, set those items to lost and do not set a fine. Let it go. Your younger kids, they're coming back. You'll have a chance next year to ask them for those things. Let the lost things sit. Don't bill everybody. You just make it work for yourself. And most of the time, they're going to matriculate out of your school without paying that fine. And no one's going to reap any benefits except they might miss prom or graduating. And that's it. So the matriculating students, try hard to get the books back. If you work at it, you'll get them. Or you'll get a good portion of them. And you don't have to announce it. They don't need to know. So don't worry about teaching them to be irresponsible or they'll, oh, look, I didn't have to pay my fine. It's a secret. And do not, in any case, move fines for library books to SIS. This is library books. Let me say it again. This is library books. Okay? Textbooks are different. But we have approval from the upper leadership not to move fines for library books to SIS. SIS and Destiny do not interface. They do not talk to each other. And this is what's happening. They can see their fines in SIS. The parents can see their fines in SIS. That's fabulous. They come in and they pay them. Nobody tells Destiny. Nobody tells the librarian. Next year, what does the librarian do? Take the fines out of Destiny, send them to SIS. The kid paid for the book last year. Now it's there again. You need to pay for this book. And again, and again, and again. They're hounded for books they've paid for. And they just keep coming back because nobody updated Destiny. It's a very difficult situation. So we're trying to eliminate that by not moving fines for library books over to SIS. Textbooks are different. They have to go to SIS. Lisa, Sue Hale says in the chat that she can't see the presentation. Can you see the presentation, Lisa?
I can.
Okay, so maybe you could help Sue Hale in the chat to see why she can't see it. I'm not sure. And you should not post overdue notices, the notice themselves, anywhere public. It's private information, the books that because it says what books they have out. So you should hand them, get them distributed to the students, but not post that information publicly anywhere. And transferring those overdue notices to SIS is just going to make a nightmare. They need to deal with it in the library. We should not be charging late fees for books. So we do not, as a rule, endorse, 5 cents a day. Even the public library has given that up. So my argument is give them overdue notices all year long, ask them for the material, make it a positive thing, do some kind of reward, something, and you'll shrink your loss. 1 to 2% of loss is the cost of doing business in a circulating library. That's a standard in the profession. So, and if the public library and the county government has given up the cash cow of fining people for their library books with late fees and overdues, now my books from the public library are happily auto-renewed for me, and I get an email that it's been renewed. And when they're tired of renewing it for me, they send me an email that it's going to be due in 5 or so days, and I need to bring it back. And if I still forget, they send me another email that says, please bring the book back. So it's the least we can do for children if that's what the public library is doing for adults. Okay, coming up, things to look for the end of the year. We will ask again for the library programming survey information from everyone. If you're a newbie, that's a survey that we send out on Google Forms that asks you information about your library program for this past school year. It asks everything from programs that you put on to the amount of money you spend on books and other materials, and an actual amount. All your Destiny data is now run by us. We used to have a form, and many of you will remember, where you had to run about 10 different Destiny reports and report that on a document. My staff now runs 10 reports for 167 sites. It takes us an entire week, and they collate that data for me. So all we are asking you for is programming information that we could not possibly know. How many book fairs you had? Did you do a code, an hour of code day? Did you do this club? Do you have a book club? All those things. And that's important data for us to have, and only you can share that with us. We hope to have a webinar coming up later in the year about your collection development plan. It could be a webinar, it could be face-to-face. There are a few details yet to be determined before we can make that decision. And we'll let you know as soon as we have that firmed up. Please watch for the email that your 8430 purchase or selection is ready to be picked up. Teresa's formulating those orders right now. It's going to take at least 30 days to get them all in, and she works with the red tags and your inventory, and it'll all be perfect when it's time for you to pick it up. But watch for an email that says your item is ready for pickup, so that it doesn't lag here over the summer.
So Alonzo has a question.
Okay.
Is there a way to email the notices and maybe save some of the paper?
That would be fabulous, Alonzo. The Destiny system does have that feature. Unfortunately, under Florida law, we're not allowed to email that, because an overdue notice has their first and last name and their student number, which we can't send in any kind of email. You cannot write to another teacher and say, Johnny Smith, 1025817, I need, your opinion on blah, blah, blah. You cannot put those two things in the same email, a student number and their full name, because our emails are archived and open to public records request under Government in the Sunshine. It also falls under SIPA, COPA, one of those things that protects student privacy. So unfortunately, we cannot use the wonderful feature inside Destiny to email overdue notices, which, our digital natives would respond so much better to, but unfortunately we can't do it.
And Juanita has a question. If we run these reports, will we get accurate information to use at our school?
Which reports are you talking about, Juanita? The Destiny reports? The ones on age of collection and those that we used to ask you to run yourself, and we run them. They should be accurate. They're as accurate as your last correctly conducted and finalized inventory and how clean your loss list is.
Does that answer your question, Juanita, before we move on to SSYRA and FTR? All right. So
we'll share, just before you go on to that, Lisa, real quick, just to follow up to Juanita's question. I mean, you're always welcome to run those reports, but we will, we had some trouble with the aggregation last year, so we did report them to all media specialists, and we will do that in some form again. If you came to our workshop, you got a folder with your data and then the averages for your level, like middle, high school, or elementary. And we will do that in some form. We're just not sure if it'll be a face-to-face workshop. It may be sent to you. And we have great hopes that we will be able to create a report to go out to leadership showing those comparisons. And we're going to include last year's data and this year's data in that report if we can make that happen. But we will share with you the data that we collect by running those reports. It's just that everyone seemed to have a lot of trouble getting that done, and there was a lot of frustration. So Nolan chose a couple years ago to have our department take that on. And so that's what we do on spring break. We run all those reports all at once, so to try to help you guys out. Sorry, Lisa.
That's okay. No worries.
You want me to let go of this so you can have it?
Yep.
Yes?
Yep, go ahead.
There you go. Wait, one more click. 2 clicks to get rid of it.
All right, so it is that time of year. We have finished our online battles, and thank you to those of you who had teams that participated. We had a huge participation, and we hope your students all had fun. For those students that have read at least 3 SSYRA juniors, SSYRA 3 to 5, SSYRA 6 to 8, or FTR books, you can register your school to vote in the statewide selection of the favorite book. To participate, the media specialist must be a member of FAME. You have until the 28th of February to register your school to vote. Go to floridamediaed.org to register your school. Click on the appropriate banner, and then students who have read at least 3 books can vote. How the vote goes at your school is entirely up to you. It could be a paper ballot, it could be a Google form, however you would like. You can organize that election, and the results will be announced at next year's FAME conference. Also coming up is the Jim Harbin Festival. We are running a local festival first to determine our district winners. Currently, there is no regional chairperson for us. And if there is no regional chairperson, there will be no regional competition for us. Our first place winners will go directly to the state, if that is the case, and we will keep you posted on that. An email with more information on Jim Harbin is going to go out tomorrow, but just know that there are 4 levels, K2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9, 12. There are 10 different categories, ranging from animation, public service announcements, documentaries. All your submissions must have a storyboard. You also must have written permission to use copyrighted information. All information is going to have to be on one document this year, and it must include citations for images and music that are in the Creative Commons. There will, like I said, going to be 2, possibly 3 levels of competition. If you want to enter the video for us, it must be submitted via a Google form by April 3rd. You will need to fill out a form for each video you wish to enter the competition. And like I said, those details will go out tomorrow. Before I go on to all of our closing stuff, does anyone have any questions? I think for Amy, elementary, does anyone have ideas how to easily implement the vote for K2 classes using forums if they do not have Google Classroom? Amy, you could set up a Google form on a Chromebook and have them line up and fill out that form. That way there's no classroom. It's not, they don't have to log in. They just click which one that they want. Does that help?
I think the FAME website also has like a picture ballot for K2. If I'm not mistaken, in the resources for SSYRA Junior, they have a pre-made ballot where they can circle the cover of the book. There's no reading involved, you know, in that sense. They can recognize the cover of their favorite.
Right, and you could probably do that via the Google form as well.
Yeah, you could put the covers in there.
And do that as the choice. Any other questions before we move on? Please be sure to tag us on Twitter. We love seeing what's going on in your media centers. You guys do amazing things, and it's great for us to see. If you're looking for points, please make sure that you've registered in e-learning and signed in on the Google form. I will put that data in there one more time. The form will stay open for about 10 minutes after the close of the Google Hangout. For follow-up, you're going to set up an inventory, take a screenshot of the screen with the selections, save it as your last name _destiny, and upload it to e-learning. Simple follow-up. Last call for questions. And our next session will be February 11th. Topic is to be determined, and watch your inbox for calendar invites. If you're unable to, yes, Alonzo, if you're unable to make it to the Hangout Live, we are posting them on a Google site, and I will send out that link as well. Any other questions?
Kathleen is Boucher's asking about the Google form, Lisa.
Yep, just there's the link.
Yeah, there you go. Click that link, Kathleen, and sign in. We have to have some sort of name proof.
Also, make sure that you have signed up in e-learning.
If you want points.
If you want points.
If you just come because you love us, that's good too. Wow, I really appreciate everybody being here. What a great turnout. So thanks everyone. And, you know, keep your ear to the ground. We'll be sending out stuff and trying to be supportive so you're not one of those face plant people for the end of the school year. Looking forward to seeing everybody at the principal's breakfast.
Yes, and if you haven't signed up for that training, sign up for that training. Cicely should be a wonderful presenter. Just as a note, that is only 2 hours. So it is a 2-hour training immediately following the breakfast, and we are not leaving the DoubleTree. Training will take place right at the DoubleTree.
Somebody popped up with a question about the name of the class in ELM, but I'm pretty sure if you just search Library Media Services, you'll probably find it. But what did you name Cecily's?
Read Woke with Cicely Lewis. So
okay.
A keyword, Read Woke.
Which is one word. And just another comment on the Read Woke workshop. If you Google Cicely, which any good librarian would before they signed up for a training, she is a high school librarian. However, the concept of Read Woke can be applied at the elementary setting. So don't just count her workshop right away. I mean, it's something we all could be doing. So so I hope you'll take the opportunity to stay and learn about that concept and think about ideas to do it with kids on your level. That's all I have.
I'm good. That's all I've got too. Alonzo, you can start the inventory now. Now would actually be a great time. That way, when we run the reports, you'll get the most accurate information. Anything else before we say goodbye?
All right, sounds like people are heading to the hills. It is 3:01, so let's sign off and let everybody have a great evening, and we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.